Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Body fluids and circulation in human physiology. We will compare blood with the lymph with respect to its structure, with respect to its functions and other parameters. There are similarities between the blood and the lymph with respect to the composition as well as the functions the two fluids perform in the body. They comprise jointly the body fluids and circulation mechanism, what we call as the circulatory system. There are two circulatory systems. Number one is the blood circulatory system. Number two is the lymphatic system. The two systems are very closely related to each other. But there are some differences between the blood and the lymph. Blood is red fluid tissue. Blood is red in color. It is colorless. Blood is red in color. It is colorless. Blood is red in color due to RBCs that contain hemoglobin, and lymph contains WBCs only and no platelets and RBCs. That's why lymph is colorless fluid tissue. Blood starts from the heart and flows through the arteries, capillaries and veins, returns to the heart. Blood travels from the heart to the body, again to the heart by the double circulation. So far the lymph is concerned, it starts from the tissue spaces and flows through the lymphatic capillaries and vessels, enters the subclavian glands. This is the difference in the flow of blood and lymph. Blood contains plasma. Blood contains RBCs. And blood contains WBCs. And blood contains platelets. So far its composition is concerned. But so far the composition of the lymph is concerned, it consists of plasma and leukocytes only. There are only plasma and WBCs, what we call as the leukocytes. There are no RBCs, there are no platelets in the lymph. Blood contains more plasma proteins and more calcium and phosphorus. There are more plasma proteins, more calcium and more phosphorus in the blood. So far the lymph is concerned, it contains fewer plasma proteins and less calcium and phosphorus. This contains more quantity and this contains less quantity. This is also the difference between blood and the lymph. There are more differences. Blood has hemoglobin in erythrocytes, hence red in color. There is Hb in blood, hemoglobin. This hemoglobin is a protein, conjugated protein, that imparts red color to the blood. Hemoglobin is not present in the lymph. And there are no RBCs, and no hemoglobin in the lymph. That is why lymph is not red in color. The color of the blood is only due to hemoglobin. One more difference is there. Blood flow is fairly rapid. The flow of the blood is very rapid, very fast. That generates a blood pressure. The flow of this lymph is very slow. That is why there is no pressure in the tissue fluid or lymph. One more difference is there. It mainly transports materials from one organ to another. This blood transports materials from one organ to the other. But so far the lymph is concerned, it mainly conveys materials from the tissues into the blood. It transports materials from tissues into the blood. So we can say that tissue fluid or lymph is a helping hand to the blood with respect to its what we call as the functions. That's all for today. But there is one more fluid. That fluid can be called as tissue fluid. That tissue fluid resembles also with the blood as well as the lymph. The tissue fluid serves also the functions of as a middleman. The tissue fluid serves the functions of a middleman between the blood and the lymph. It This tissue fluid hands over food materials and oxygen from the blood to the tissue cells. It receives carbon dioxide, nitrogen waste products, hormones, and other synthetic substances from the tissue cells and enters the lymph capillaries to discharge them into the blood. That is why this tissue fluid, which is the third fluid, this is called the middleman. This tissue fluid changes into lymph on entering the lymph capillaries. Whenever this tissue fluid enters into the lymph capillaries, it forms the lymph. It keeps the tissue cells moist. This tissue fluid keeps the tissue cells moist. This is all about the body fluids and circulation, blood, lymph, and the tissue fluid and the circulation. That's all for today. Thank you.